Hello everyone and welcome back to Cities by Steven. You're talking to Steven. Welcome back to the channel. If this is your first time here, please hit that subscribe button. Get that bell notification on too so you don't miss out on a video. Last time we were here, we were building out and done. And, what's going on? I'm getting a news notification that something bad is about to happen. A meteor strike. Oh my gosh, we were just talking about what's happening in Dunn and there's a meteor strike? Well, here's what we did last episode. Transit-oriented development out and done. I think we're going to change some things up. Oh my gosh, where are we? There's a meteor strike? Holy moly. Did not see that coming at all. It destroyed some of the road. Oh my gosh, I can't believe this. Holy cow. A meteor strike just happened outside of Winslow. Oh no, we're going to need to fix this. So let's pause the game and let's catch up on what we did last episode really quickly. Oh my gosh, a meteor strike. So we built up Elizabeth Station, which is a transit-oriented development out near Dunn, and I'm thinking of changing some things up. I'm not 100% set on how it turned out. I think there are some tweaks that need to happen, and I'll take some of your comments into consideration for that. But what the heck happened out in Winslow? Well, there was a suggestion to add in a meteor strike site over in Winslow, and I love how that turned out. That was fantastic. So thank you in the comments for that suggestion. And looks like we're going to need to redo some of this and fix this road up really quickly. There we go. So yeah, wow, that was really great timing there. Really pleased with how that worked out. Okay, so speaking of place names, this was something else that was added into the comments. So I'm going to go through a bunch of towns that we have planned out in this series. There's quite a bit, and if you don't see your suggestion in today's episode, well, it doesn't mean that it's not going to appear. I may just be saving it for a bit of a secret project or something like that, or it just potentially won't fit in this series alone. But, you know, there's definitely future series that they will be able to fit into, and you know, the series is at episode 68. I want to get going on our next one soon, which will be a series set out in British Columbia. So we do need to kind of tighten our sphere of thinking here and try to start finishing off this series so that we can start dabbling into our next one, which I'm very excited to bring you shortly. But let's start off with over and done where we just were with some of these name suggestions. So if you see your name suggestion, please in the comments type in the town's name that you suggested. Just say, for example, with this town, Elizabethtown, and just say Elizabethtown exclamation point, or maybe an emoji or something like that, and then everyone will know in the comments that your town suggestion was added in to the series. So Elizabethtown, the plan for this one is to be a bit of a 1950s, 1960s suburban development out over here, probably when a couple roads started coming in through this area, and, you know, really vast yards. I'm thinking of using the European suburban theme for this, and Elizabethtown, named after the now late queen, but at the time 50s, 60s development, was right around the time of her coronation, and Queen Elizabeth was the Queen of Canada since her time of coronation, so it is very fitting that this would be in this Alberta themed city. So that is the first one. Now I'm going to run a road connecting up Elizabethtown to the wider world, and we're going to actually get that connection in now because it has a fitting name that'll go along with it. So I think we're going to take this road here, and now again, I'm thinking of changing some things up in here. There were some comments that I'm really taking into consideration about how this has been approached, and you know, I really agree with the comments, but we'll deal with this part next episode. So, oh hey, look at that, the Dunn Forestry Limited reached level 4. So let's just quickly, before we come back to this, let's quickly check up on Dunn Forestry Limited. And see what we're doing here. So we need some more workers. Again, that's good to know. We'll wait for some of the production to increase because that's going to take some time to get up there anyways. So we'll come deal with this next week on Monday. or Wednesday, whenever the first episode of the week comes out. And we'll come work out in Dunn. We'll do some changes up at Elizabeth Station and work on the forestry industry. And I guess we can talk about some of the themes with Dunn as well. So JMWZ in the comments suggested that Dunn has this very influential family, and they are kind of behind the scenes. Maybe they run the forestry company. They are behind the scenes kind of running things, adding in some influence into how Elizabeth Station turned out, shutting down this old rail station that doesn't work, really influencing the industry growth of the area. And we'll be building their family home, their mansion, shortly, and that'll also come next week. So a lot of the Dunn lore, it will occur in the future, but let's talk about this road right here. So this is a pretty major road coming into Dunn, into this main station area, and I think we can run this road kind of from here all the way into, say, this road here. Now this road, for example, is not named, I don't think. Oh, it's University Avenue. Okay, so we're gonna need to change this name up, and University Avenue does not go through the university, so I think we're gonna need to change up the name of this, because I think it's Finch Avenue is what it's supposed to be. Yeah, so it looks like at some point this road got turned around, and that's okay. So we'll have University Avenue. How about University Avenue can run right out into here? That's totally fine with me. Perhaps we can shorten it down the line, but I think for now we can leave it at that. So let's connect up those two roads that I was mentioning from here all the way down into here, and that'll become a pretty major avenue. Now we're going to start off with the same road type that we were just using, and I'll just grab it from here. And the first step we're going to need to do is kind of plan out its trajectory. So my idea for this road is it's kind of a bit more of a semi-highway, maybe an early highway kind of into the area that has since been kind of changed over. So let's pretty much just swing out through here. I think we'll be fine with that slope right there. Oh, let's turn off prop and tree anarchy. That would have been helpful. Okay, so let's now grab the road again, put on topography, and let's talk about how we're going to meet up with this road. Well, this road is a pretty major road, and we are going to need this one to get kind of pushed up into here so we can kind of plan out how this connection is going to work. And I think we can bring this right out to here. We'll get this elevated, and we'll bring it right out to about there. Oh, we'll just let that train pass. There we go. And then we'll come back down to ground level, where we'll connect up for the moment at ground level here. So let's then fix this bridge so that it's at a proper height. Okay, so there we go. We got that working. So now that goes at a good height underneath here. Now, I'm not exactly sure how I'm going to approach this road. I might actually just continue this elevated over top of this road so that it meets up with this grade a little bit better. But this bridge is going to come right across here. We can see its little markers already, and it's going to be a major bridge into the Hanover Heights area. And speaking of Hanover Heights, while we're talking about this, it's going to be Hanover Heights on this side, where it's a bit more elevated over there. And then over on this side, we're going to have an area called Waltham. So Waltham is kind of, these two towns are going to be kind of in junction with each other. My vision for it is two kind of suburbs that have been kind of enveloped together and then are now growing upwards as being a bit more of a tech hub kind of area, similarly to the way Walsenburg has kind of grown up, but on a bit more of a modern scale rather than an older scale of having this old town road coming through here. I'm thinking it's a bit more planned and a bit more gridded in the core of it, and I think that'll turn out pretty nicely. It's right on the main train lines, and everything. So these two towns are going to envelop this whole area. This will be a pretty major build in the future. And I'm glad we got that name in. So Waltham, see you in the comments. So let's continue up with this avenue. So let's look at the topography here. It's just extremely flat. I think we can probably just cut right through here, right in between here, right where the word basically kind of is. So this is not how it's going to connect. At some point in this area, we're going to drop this down to one lane. But since we haven't built up this area yet, I don't know where that road connection is going to connect. So technically, just kind of talking this out with you all, technically we could see that off of, say, this node here, where we have a pretty major avenue coming down into Elizabethtown. And then what we would do is have this road downgraded into a one-lane road going under the bridge. Or if we decide to, when we just retouch a few things in this area, perhaps this becomes a larger road up into this point, and then we re-envision how this roundabout kind of works. So this road here has a name that has been suggested. Prince Charles Avenue goes right up to here and comes all the way down right up into here, where it then becomes University Avenue. So Prince Charles is the new king of the British realms, and I think we can get this road coming right up into here, where it then becomes Parker Street. But Parker Street is yeah, this is where it connects with the highway. So I think maybe we can change the name of this road to something else, because Parker Street comes all the way up to here, and then it might see a name switch as well. Or maybe this is a different highway. So why don't we actually call this a bit of a highway? So just off the top of my head, we'll call it Provincial Highway. Provincial Highway 16. You know, just a numbered street, and it goes all the way out over here, where it will probably go out of bounds. I'm not sure. I want to get a couple things out this way, so we'll see how that works out in the future. So I'm sure it's when we're talking about Prince Charles Avenue, it's probably Prince Charles Avenue, and then at the end of it, it has a 16 beside it, so it's still Highway 16 going into Fort Prairie. And perhaps this realignment occurred of Prince Charles Avenue at some point, and we'll leave this legacy road, and they probably changed up the trajectory at some point, probably in the early 2000s, where it curves this way. So we could actually kind of lean into that a bit more, and what we'll do is realign this road. I'm not actually going to do it. I'll do it off camera. Sorry, you know what? I'll do the road here, but I'll redo the naming off camera. But I like where that connects. However, we can get it to realign a little bit nicer to kind of line up with the story. That this was a realignment of a larger, of that old road. So what we can do to kind of tease that is come at this at a bit of a sharper angle, so it looks like it would have connected at some point like that, but instead we'll curve this way and in. So now when we're looking at it, it looks like eventually, or at some point, this road continued this way. And what we can do now is actually grab this road and continue it straight. Okay, this one's gonna be named Prince Charles Avenue. I'm actually gonna name it to street. But I'm realizing, silly me, this Piper Hunter Avenue, what the heck? Where did the name go? Prince Charles Avenue. It's not Prince Charles anymore. What was I thinking? I'm just so used to calling him Prince Charles. It's King Charles Avenue now. So they've renamed this to be King Charles Avenue, and we'll swing this all the way down. So we got King Charles Avenue, and then the former Prince Charles Street. So it's Prince Charles Street because this is what the road was back in the day when he was Prince Charles. So we'll Yeah, you know what? I just think that's great. So now we have a proper road connection into Dunn from Fort Prairie, and I think that street alone is going to really increase the functionality of this town and Elizabethtown. So that has been, we've done a couple towns, only one town now, really, but I think all in all, I think this was a great spot for this whole region. Now, while we're out here, there's been a nature reserve kind of labeled here for a little while, and I've labeled this as a nature reserve because if we kind of throw it on 3-speed here and then we open up the water, we can see that the river gets rather fast through here. Now this particular reason is why I labeled this as a nature reserve. So back in the day, in the fur trading days of Canada's colonization, this area would have been definitely earmarked as a portage destination. And what is portage? That is kind of the action of when you get off of your canoe to go around a certain point on land carrying your canoe and then back into a river. So theoretically, if this was a fur trading route, which I think is what we're kind of saying, probably what would have happened is people would have come down the river here, probably gotten off over here and portaged all the way around the rapids until they're done, because this is a waterfall, right back into here, where they would then get back on their canoes and continue down the Arrow River. So this has a name, Roanoke Rapids. So Roanoke Rapids will become a park in the future, and its history is kind of set in the fur trading routes of this town. So now that we've kind of done that, let's talk about a bit of a challenge with this series and naming. So this has been on my mind for a little while, and it's a bit difficult to discuss. So as we have a nice big view of the city and this beautiful town that we've all built together and named together. So Roanoke Rapids, as we just discussed, is a park set in a historical setting. That there'll be a park here because it's a historic site, because people in the fur trade used to have to portage around the rapids to get down into the river system. Now, one of the main things that we have in the city is a fort, a fur trading post that has since been built up militarily to police the area in this part of the world, which at the time that we are saying that this was built was technically part of the British Empire in Canada. Now this is something, I'm about to discuss something rather difficult. I want to bring up the discussion of Indigenous representation in this and in future series. So first of all, I'd like to acknowledge that I live in Ottawa, Canada, which is situated on unceded Anishinaabe-Algonquin territory. Now, this setting for this game that we're playing for Fort Prairie is set on Treaty 7 territory. Treaty 7 is a part of the numbered treaties, which I'm not going to get too much into at all, and I highly encourage you to look up the numbered treaties on your own accord and look for your own sources on the matter, because it's a really complicated and difficult history that Canada has with the Indigenous peoples of the lands. And the reason why I bring this up is because so far in this series, we have had very little Indigenous representation in this game. And yeah, it's a game. How do you incorporate real histories, difficult histories, in a game? And that's what I've been trying to grapple with lately, because a lot of the names that we've been using and we've come up with, and which are all fantastic, and I enjoy them all, and they're all very fitting for this series and this region. They are settler names for an area that had Indigenous place names before. And that is something that I've been struggling with, is how do I, as a settler who lives on unceded territory, how do I add in Indigenous representation to a game that is just set in theoretically set in Treaty 7 territory, part of the country that I don't live in, nor do I know anyone who does. So I've talked to people who are very knowledgeable on the subject, and I've been doing my own research into the matter, and that's why this place naming episode has taken so long to get out. It's because I've been doing some research into the subject on how should I, as someone who just plays video games and is releasing a fictional city just set in Treaty 7 territory, how do I add Indigenous representation into this fictional city? So my plan is to just use Indigenous place naming that is currently being used in discussions on future renamings, reclaimings, or is currently being used in populated areas set in Alberta. So I'm looking at Calgary in particular, but also Edmonton, the surrounding areas. And I feel like that is the best way to approach this from myself as a settler to these lands, building a fictional city set in Treaty 7 territory. And I plan on adding more of Indigenous representation into this city, into this game. I might even rename a few things, because if we were to build a city, if the city were real, as we're pretending it is, it really would have a lot more Indigenous representation than we currently have given it. And the first thing that I would like to kind of do is change the name of the river. So I named this river a long time ago myself, the Arrow River, and I thought it was a good parallel to the fact that in Calgary has a river running through it called the Bow River. And it is a good parallel to it, but the Bow in Calgary, the Bow River, flows into the Elbow River. Now that is in part because, that is named as so because of the fact that Indigenous people had previously named it after the fact that it is an elbow in a river. Elbow as in, as we can kind of see in this image on screen, it kind of, the curve of the river almost makes like a U-turn. It's very similar to the rivers in Calgary, which is why I chose this map for this series in the first place. So as a result, I'm going to change the name of the river to the name you can see on screen, which is a Stoney word for the Elbow River. And according to the article that I found this on, it's the Stoney word for elbow, which is referring to the area's waterways, the area as in Calgary, Canada. And the Stoney people are Nakota Sioux people in the area, and they're a signatory to Treaty 7, along with people of the Blackfoot Confederacy and others. And those are some of the names that I'll be using in the series, place names that occur from those peoples and by those peoples. And I feel like renaming the central river of this series to an Indigenous name that doesn't exist for the river in Calgary today. It's still called the Elbow River, which is just the translation of the Stoney word for it. Now, there are words from every culture in the area for this river. I chose the Stoney one for no particular reason other than it was one of 5 that I had an option of. And I hope that is going to be okay. And please, if you have any comments on the matter, let me know in the comment section down below. Have you ever addressed something like this while playing your cities? Have you ever added in difficult subjects into your realistic cities? This also brings me to another brief point, that I want to discuss, is I'm not comfortable adding in any fictional Indigenous histories into this map. And that kind of goes for creating fictional people. I'm not comfortable personally with that, but I am, as a settler of these lands that we call Canada, comfortable making up fictional names for settlers in this area. So when it comes to the lore of the series, it's a fine line that I'm going to be walking with this, because it is a difficult subject in discussing a fictional city. I hope you can see my dilemma and why it's taken so long to get this place naming video out. It's because I wanted to discuss this subject in conjunction with the place naming, because it's been on my mind for a long time. And let me know what you all think in the comments down below. So there's a few other areas that I want to get names for. So over here we have Ordway and New Walsenburg. Now I do plan on building a town over here. So we're going to be naming this one Peabody. So thank you for that suggestion in the comments. Now I think this town's going to be really cool. I have a plan for it to be to get some type of rapid transit out this way, and we'll see what that is in the future. It's going to be quite the challenge, and I'm really excited for that altogether. Coming down the river here, we have Magog Lake. Now, I'm going to try to find a little spot here for a town along the shores of Magog Lake. Now, I want it to be on this side because we already have some plans for what's happening over here. So looking at this, that's a bit difficult with the terrain. We also have the airport going in over here, so I don't want to get too close. But I think that this is a pretty cool little spot. It's got a cool little hill here. That's pretty neat. But I'm looking for a spot with a good kind of landing area. And I think this is probably our best bet right in here. So right in here, we're going to have, you guessed it, the town of Magog. There we go. So that's going to be really cool. I'm thinking it's going to be kind of like a semi-resort town with a marina, and I think that's going to be really great. So now we're going to swing all the way over into here. Now this is in no particular order. I just wrote down a bunch of the names that I want to get in. So right in this little pocket, I'm feeling that this should have been built up a little bit earlier. However, I'm glad that we waited to get a lot of the primary infrastructure in first, particularly the rail lines, securing how this is going to work. Now right in here, in this zone, we're going to have the town of Ortonville. Now, there's been some discussion in the comments recently about where Ortonville will kind of go, because the themes of it has kind of changed. Now, there was discussion about getting Ortonville out over here, but I was particularly set on the original theme of this town in the comments, of it being kind of an old town that's been enveloped by suburban sprawl, and has since kind of had some tough goes of it as of late. So my plan for this is to get kind of an old town vibe with the rail here and everything like that. Potentially get a bit of pedestrian promenade, Main Street, some industrial feel along the side here, close to the highway, and building a small town and then enveloping it with suburbs. And I think that would be really neat to kind of do. And since we're out over here, we have a stadium planned over on this side. I'm really excited for that build. This build's going to come sooner rather than later because of its importance with the metro line, which runs underneath this area and then over into Ortonville. So I want to get the stadium in first because I want to know the direction of where the metro line is actually going to really go, first of all. And getting the stadium in here is going to be really fun. It's going to be a fun build. Once we get that going, then we can do Ortonville, because then we'll determine where that metro station is going to be, and then we can build that up. So the stadium's going to come first. I have a really fun idea for the stadium, but then this takes us to the next one, Bellevue, which is French for pretty view. And the theme of this one is that it's a an old French community over here, and I'm thinking we can get a bit of a French theme along the river here, but this town will have been cut off with this massive bridge. And I'm thinking like a really small town vibe that has obviously since been redeveloped into a bit more of a suburb. Oh, Bellevue's right here. Whoops. Well, there you go. Now you know there's very few cuts in the series because I'm going to leave that in, and that's pretty funny. So Bellevue is going to be over in here. I'm assuming we're just going to steal the district theme for this one by the stadium. Okay, so the next one is a small town up in the north called Johnstown. Now I'm thinking about renaming this one slightly, and I think we're going to get it right over in here. And this is just going to be a really small town, probably with a highway running through it at some point. I'm not sure how we're going to get the highway through here. It might be over on this side. So I'm not 100% set on this town, but there's some farmable land over here. And this one is going to be called... There we go. Just removing the W, which is a pretty common practice to do. All right. Now, there is another town which I am particularly keen on getting in, and that is the town of, I forgot to do this one, Chapman Creek. Now, this one's going to be right over here by this small little creek. I was looking for a spot on the map that I could do it, and Chapman Creek is going to be over in here. Now, Chapman Creek is named after a particular fellow who fell into the creek, I believe. Correct me in the comments. Then, since we're over here, we have a road kind of teased to go up this way. Now, if we look at the topography here, I want to get a town of some sort up in the mountains. Now, this mountain's going to be really difficult to pass. We have a resort planned over here. I'm not particularly keen on getting anything over on this side, because we do need to have a cutoff point at some point in this series. So I'm thinking right up here on this plateau would be a cool little spot to get the town, the resort town of New Windsor. It's a nice little plateau. I think we can get the road up into here, and then maybe, you know, kind of end it. We'll have like a way to get up to this resort up here in Aspen Garden. All right, so now we have the town. Let's kind of check where we are. So we're over here, out in the middle of nowhere. We have nothing really built up over this way. We have a cool lake over here, but I'm waiting on this one for a unique build, so I'm just gonna hold off on naming anything around this area for now. But there is some green space over here, and if we look at the topography, it's a hill, so I think it could be a pretty cool little destination. There seems to be a nice little plateau over here that we could get a bit of a town in at some point. So just really briefly, we're going to have a small town over here. Actually, should this be the town that I'm thinking of? Let's quickly take a quick little peek around the map here. A small little miserable town was the description of this, and I think this town will help support the oil industry over here with Winslow and the Winslow crater. Now, a fun little thing you can do with your craters, if you decide to do any of these, is you can use these rocks. You can place them inside of the crater. Now, we're just going to do this for now. You can actually lower it too, I would assume. Yeah. And so we're going to place this in here for now, but the town might extract this rock for some particular reason, and we'll wait on that one when we build up the town of Winslow. There's the meteor that crashed. Okay, so St. Paul, that's going to be a thing sooner rather than later. Sorry, false. I'm going to build up St. Paul when we build up the oil industry, and I'm not exactly sure when that is. I'm not sure if I'm going to do the oil industry before or after the airport. The airport's going to become a bit more of an important project because I can't build the airport or anything around the airport until I know the size of what the airport's going to be. So I may have to build the airport sooner rather than later, just so we know the size, how we're going to build up the interchange, how we're going to connect up the metro, how St. Paul is going to be serviced, how we're going to build up the zoo over here, and a pretty big town of Barbersville. Now I'm thinking Barbersville is going to kind of envelop these arms. So Barbersville, I don't know how it's going to be, but I'm thinking it's going to be in this area. So really roughly, as you can see, there were some suggestions to make Barbersville like a bit of a sister city to Fort Prairie. Now, I don't think I'm going to be able to do that because I want Fort Prairie to be a bit of like the tallest buildings of the area, the main center point. I'm thinking something a bit more along the lines of Walsenburg. Some taller buildings, but nothing too massive. A bit of a business district, probably a bit bigger than what Walsenburg has turned into. So perhaps a bit of a hybrid between what Walsenburg is and maybe Greenboro. But I think like a neighboring city would be a cool project. Having the airport so close by would be really neat. And yeah. Okay, so there was a comment to name this new part of Walsenburg to be something. So thank you for that suggestion. We'll build that up when we get Winslow going again. And we're just checking all my notes. I think we've gotten most of them. Now here's another town that's going to be really fun to build up. So kind of similar to the themes of New Windsor, we have a whole other mountain range over on this side. So we're going to name something over on this side. Now, we already have a town planned of Beaufort Hills. So that's going to be over on this side. Now we have Pine City Park, which is going to be a bit of a ski resort, but this whole area is rather resemblant of the Scottish Hills, in my opinion. So I think perhaps a Scottish settler came into the area, and I'm sorry if I'm misremembering the lore here, but Glen Jean is a town, which is going to be a resort town set in this area here. Now, I'm pretty sure that Glen is a Scottish term for a valley of some sort. So I think that would be really neat to get it in here. And then we'll have the resort that is supported by the town over in here. Or maybe we can just change this to be a big nature reserve called Glen Jean. Now we have a town that's been waiting for a long time. Now I'm also hoping to get this one done sooner rather than later as well. Right in here, I'm going to place this down. I've been debating where I'm going to put this for quite some time, but we have New Bold's Corner. Now this one's been in the comments for a long time. When we built up Brownsville, there was a comment to build another town here. And I apologize for this taking so long, but New Bold's Corner is going to be over here, a small farming town. I'm hoping to redevelop this area soon with some really fun aspects. I think that would go really nicely here. Now there's another town that's supposed to be nearby that we'll also add in, and I'm thinking we're going to add it in on this side over here. Not sure where, but over here, and it's going to be called Corning. Right beside the landfill was the idea. So there we go. And yeah, you know, I think this is where we're going to stop for now. I have a few more, but I think we'll hold off for the time being because there are so many towns that we've added in, so many planned towns. We got Barbersville, Magog. Anything over here? No, nothing over here yet. St. Paul, Chapman Creek, Peabody, New Windsor, Waltham, Roanoke Rapids, Elizabethtown, Johnston, Corning, Glenjaw, and more, like Pine Grove. So, you know, if your town name came up in today's episode, leave a comment with the town's name, with an exclamation point at the end, or an emoji or something like that, and let me know. If you think that town placement is good, if you want me to move it, let me know in the comments, and we'll talk about it. And yeah, very excited for all of the plans. So let's slide down into the downtown core, and let's finish off today's episode with a bit of building. Now, this is something that I've planned out for a long time with this series, but we haven't built it yet. Been waiting for kind of an episode when we had some time. And guess what, folks? We have some time. And that is to build up the City Center Mall right here, which is a park called Ordway City Hall Mall. And this is going to be actually called, we're going to change the name to Prairie Green Park. And I thought that was appropriate because of, you know, Prairie Station, Fort Prairie, and I thought the name would be cool right in here. So what's the idea for this park? Well, something really simple, accessible, that people can just use to walk through, have a nice luncheon. It's right beside all the major points of the city, right beside a highway too, which is kind of funny, but I think it still works out pretty well. And it goes right up to the city hall, which is really neat. Now, there's one feature that I want to deal with first before we get going on the rest of it, and that is to add in a pathway from here to here and across, just to remove some of the concrete iffiness of it. Now, that would be great to use just a basic city park path. Let's turn off our guidelines. And there we go. We've kind of recovered the concrete here. Now, something else we can do is actually just realign it so it's straight all the way through here, and then add in just a touch of concrete to fill in these kind of edges here. And the great thing about this path is that concrete doesn't go across it and kind of draw everything around it. And it kind of holds its own against the Surface Painter mod. So there we go. And then I'm thinking this would probably be a concrete wall of some sort, a supporting wall. I could try to throw a key in here, but I think that's just a little too much effort for the little factor that this really plays in. So I think just a really simple concrete kind of walled area would work great. And I'm just going to fill up the concrete right through here, and we're going to try and cover some things up a little bit. Fortunately, this road doesn't play well with the Surface Painter mod. And we'll try to hide some things here as well with the same type of path. Now what we'll do here is we'll bring this path from right here, bring it down to about here, and then right down to street level. Now if we bring this down just slightly, and then this one just over to about right there, we can then just add in a touch of concrete. Interesting situation over here as well, kind of some dead land. Nothing of real note can really fit in here. Yeah, I don't know what to put in this area between these paths here. I can try and smooth it down, but really it's a tough situation right here. I would assume that it would just be kind of like, I don't know. Oh gosh, I really don't know what would go in this area. Let me know if you have any ideas of what could fit in this area, what we can do with this area at all. I'm talking about this triangle here, this triangle here. Pretty interesting stuff. Okay, so now that we have that path in place, we could try and do something else on the other side, but I think keeping them separate works out pretty good. So one major factor we have in this whole park here is there's a road running right down the middle of it. Now, should we try and build a tunnel? Should we make a crossing connection here? Well, this is a pretty major thoroughway, and I don't exactly see the possibility of getting a connection either way. So in this case, the only ways from one side of the park to the other would be via the street. And that's a bit unfortunate. So I think we might try and get a tunnel. So let me try this out with this. Oh, we'll try it out with this one. All right, yeah, that looks pretty good. So now we have a connection in between here, and we could only use the one pathway because that's the only one with a bridge, or sorry, with a tunnel. And I think if we can connect these up with other paths in the game here, I think that would be pretty appropriate so that it's really functional. But in reality, I think it would be pretty simple to have people, you know, be expected to walk across the grass, or maybe if they don't want to go around to connect to a path or something like that, people would walk across the grass. But I want to use this pathway for a majority of the build here because I think it's just a really neat path. It's really basic, but I think it works out great. And sometimes I just wish it could be a little bit bigger, because what a great opportunity this would be to kind of have that be all concrete. And here's an idea. We could use something from the Pedestrian Promenade DLC in and around here. Some of these tiles, like this bluestone paver. This one seems rather realistic. All right, so yeah, I think that looks pretty good. I think this one is just slightly off, so let me just fix this. Pull this one in a little bit. Then we need to just tweak this then. Okay, so now we can connect up these paths all together. So again, I want to try to use these paths, but it's going to be difficult to do, especially with some of this node snapping issue that we were going to have. So we can try to do something like this. Bring this one over, and then again, try not to snap in like that. And we'll just try and realign them so that they look a little bit more straight than we had them. Okay, and then we'll do the same thing over here. So we'll snap onto this one, remove the snapping, and we kind of just came out a little bit and then down. And we'll do something similar over here, but I think we could probably just connect like that. Yeah, I think so. And then we can at some point, connect onto this path. Okay, so now that we have that in place, let's get some fencing in. And I'm just comfortable with the basic iron fence just along here. And we'll just get this in on either side of this concrete connection here. Something simple like that to kind of just, you know, keep some of the traffic at bay. And then I'm also thinking we bring this all the way down to here. And then we'll leave that gap. We'll bring this connection right up to about there. There we go. And then why don't we decorate this area really quickly? Okay, so hopefully that kind of hides some of the funkiness of the surface painter and whatnot. And I think that looks rather nice. Just some really simple connections here, simple plants, and yeah, I think that looks rather nice. Okay, so now we need to decide what side of the park we're going to deal with first. And I think it's probably best if we look at this side of the park first. So what are we going to really do here? Well, I think we need to get, first of all, a city gate at some point. And since we're talking about city gates, let's think about this really quickly. Should we have the parking lot? Probably not, is kind of the crux of this. There's enough parking around. This isn't the idea of the park. So let's go with just the small park main gate. And then let's place that main gate right in the middle, facing the Parliament buildings or the City Hall building. And we'll just try and line these up a little bit. I think this Lazarette Plaza is just slightly off. So there we go. That's pretty lined up, isn't it? So there we go. We got that in. Should we get the side gates in as well? I think we should, because I'm an enjoyer of the side gate look. So let's get one right in here and then one right in here. Not in park area. There we go. And then I want another one over here in the middle. And I don't think we need anything on this side. This is a bit more of a highway kind of thing. We could even almost fence this side in entirely. I know we have a path on this side, and I think that's okay. I don't think we need a path on the other side, so we can try and get a fence running all the way along this side. And why don't we do that? One way we can do this is going into fences here. We're using the iron fence for the build. Go into Network Multi-Tool, and we'll run a parallel, and we'll go from here to here, and we'll press tab to get it on the other side. And we can even bring it in a bit farther, but I think that's right on the edge. So let's just click it in. There we go. We'll exit out. And then we'll use move it here to just move the equipment where we need it to be. And then we're good. Let's bring that slightly more over. Okay, fantastic. So yeah, that makes sense to fence this off. This is a pretty major thoroughway. And this side's a bit more connected with the city. So we have two here. We could get one more on either side. And I think we will. It just seems appropriate to do that. So let's grab these small gates, and we'll get one more there, and we'll place another one right over here. Equidistant, so that is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 squares. So let's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. We were one off. So we'll just click that in, and then we'll delete the extra one. There we go. And now let's just try and realign this one, because I know we're slightly off. And why don't we just align all of these ever so slightly. And we'll be back in a second. All right, so I don't want to fence off much more of the park at all, but I will fence off this connection here. And I'm not going to do any other connection on that side, but I might do... you know what? No, I think we're good. I don't think we need to fence off anything else. So we're using this path here, the simple pavement path. I think that's probably best if we're going to try to continue to use these. So let's connect them down. Oh, this is not on center. How is this not at center? I I guess the park's center point is right here. So we can bring this one down like that. And I guess the lot is a bit bigger on this side. No, I think it's just the grade difference between the streets is a bit different. So let's just align this with the park, and you know what? I think it's gonna be fine. So there we go, pretty straight, and then we'll connect up all of these. And there we go. That's pretty nice. People are already using the park. Prairie Green Park already has enough entertainment, so it just needs to get to the next level. All right, so what else should we add in this park? Well, first of all, actually, let me just quickly check if we can change the look of this. No, I don't think I can change out the path type there, but that's okay. Oh, I missed one path connection I want to make. That's right here. And then I just need to move a node over on this path because of the bench. There we go, that works. All right, so I don't want this to be too much, you know? I want this to be really simple, rather open. But I think we need to get some detailing in. I'll do that at the end because I want to make sure we get enough buildings in. And what kind of buildings do we want in this park? Well, I could definitely see a cafe in this park. This is like a downtown kind of core area, but when I'm thinking about this cafe, I definitely think that this cafe would be kind of in a spot that would be accessible to the majority of people without having to walk through the park. And I think the best option we have is to back it up to about here. Now, because of that, I think we need to add a bit of concrete in to try to get it to look like it's all together, it's all in one. But the silliness of the connections with the concrete and whatnot doesn't always work out. But I definitely think we can get a cafe there. I can definitely see us getting a cafe here by the museum or the opera area. So let's do that as well. We'll do the same thing where we'll push this one right to the back here, like so. And then we'll get a nice, simple concrete kind of connection into here. I think that'll have to do. Okay, so that's good. Public restrooms are probably something we would want in this park. And I'm thinking we can get the public restrooms in one location. And we'll do that right here. Now, I always like to do 2 public restrooms beside each other. Because I'm sure they have the split. But, you know, like men, women. But having the 2 side by side beside each other look pretty fun sometimes. And I think if we can get this one to line up like that, there we go. So now maybe it's men and women instead of it being one side or the other. So there we go. We got that in place. That's great. And then what other items in the park DLC can we have? Gazebos are always cool. We could add a couple in. We have some great spots for them right by the main park here. So let's do that. Let's put them in some accessible locations. Whoops. Didn't mean for that to happen. Yeah, let's just push this one slightly back. There we go. That looks great. Now, should we have any more gazebos? I don't know. Well, right here we have a good spot for one. That could be nice right in there. And then I don't think we have an opportunity on the other side, so there's some asymmetry right there. Playground, not that type of park. So I think we'll pass on that. Looking forward to some of the food court stuff. We'll get going on that soon. Nature reserve stuff. Should we add anything in? Probably not. Parks and Plazas DLC. Now, this is something that we're definitely going to add in. There's one plaza that I was thinking of in particular. There's the small food truck plaza. And I think this is the best spot, probably the only spot that we could get this in appropriately. So we'll get that in right there. It kind of hides some things already. We could add some network tiles on the side here. So let me just do this really quickly if I find one. All right, so I don't know what the deal is with the ground changing color, but I'm okay with that. All right, so that looks great. Food truck plaza, always cool to get in. Very neat. The only other one that we could add in my opinion, would be the ice cream truck plaza. That would be neat. Just because the other ones are a bit heavier plazas. The flower garden could be neat. That actually would be nice right in here as well. We could fill in the rest of this area with network tiles. But would that be nicer over on this side? Yeah, why not? Let's put it on this side instead. So the flower garden, then let's just add in these network tiles. All right, very neat. Let's see if there's any other ones that we can get in, like the ice cream truck one. But I don't know. I kind of want there to be a bit more green space. It's called Prairie Green, after all. So I think we can leave the rest to be. So now let's go into a bit of a detailing time lapse while I kind of fill this in with trees and whatnot. Okay, so there we go. We got Prairie Green finally built up, and it's got various types of green. So we have this little park here. I added in these pergolas. That's really awesome. Some picnic tables beside the food court. That's also helpful. Picnic tables scattered about. The people have moved around and left. Lots of flowers around the center point here. I think that's really great. Got the ice cream stand over here. A couple food trucks as well. And I think it turned out pretty great. So let me know what you think in the comment section down below. And we will end this with a nice view of Prairie Green in relation to the city. So have a lovely day, folks, and I'll talk to you soon. Peace out.